What's up, Legends? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking Black Ops 7 Zombies. Today we got the Zombies reveal. Treyarch put out the giant blog that pretty much told us everything that I was told in the creator call at the end of last week. Big shout out to Activision once again for including me in that call with Treyarch. And I think a lot of this information is incredibly exciting. But in this video specifically, I want to talk about the return of Augments. They are back and better than ever in Black Ops 7. And they did an entire separate blog that wasn't really stuff that we necessarily covered within that creator call that I do want to go through in this video specifically. So first thing before we actually dive into the blog itself, as you can see, I have Black Ops 6 open. One thing that is really cool about Black Ops 7 is everything that you've done as far as research is concerned across all of your different perks, ammo mods, and field upgrades is going to carry over to Black Ops 7. So if you're somebody who hasn't played a ton, maybe you're a little bit newer to the zombies experience, you don't have all of your augments unlocked, maybe one of the seasonal items came out and you just didn't bother grinding it, I would say jump into Black Ops 6 ahead of Black Ops 7. Get as much of these progression tracks done as you can. Get as many of these augments unlocked as you can, because that is going to carry over again to Black Ops 7. There are a couple of exceptions. All of the perks will be included. So every perk that we have currently, plus a new one, which is going to be Wisp T, we will have available to us on day one. For the ammo mods, we're going to get everything we currently have in Black Ops 6 with the addition of Firecracker returning, I believe, from Black Ops 3, but we won't have access to Shatter Blast or Light Mend until Season 1. A bit unfortunate. I think some people might look at it as it's drip feeding content, but I think the fact that we're getting such a big chunk of this stuff that we're not getting on launch in Season 1, and it's going to be pretty much stuff that we already had, I don't think that's going to be all that big of a deal. That just means that after Season 1, everything that we will get will indeed be a new feature or new item for the game. For field upgrades, we're going to get our Energy Mine, Frenzied Guard, Dark Flare, Healing Aura, and Ether Shroud, alongside a returning field upgrade, Toxic Growth, which I think a lot of people might be excited to see return. And similar to the ammo mod situation, Mr. Peaks, Tesla Storm, and Frost Blast will all be available in Season 1 as well. But again, even though it is going to be coming at Season 1, any progress you've made in Black Ops 6 will carry over. So my recommendation is, ahead of Black Ops 7, if you haven't grinded these out, just jump into Black Ops 6, get as much as you can done. That way you'll be set up for all the new additions that are coming with Black Ops 7. Let's go ahead and dive into the blog and see what Treyarch has cooked up for Black Ops 7. Now, this initial stuff in the blog is a couple of things that we actually already covered. There's going to be 12 perks available, 1 new, 11 returning, the new one being Wisp T, 6 types of ammo mods, 1 new, 5 returning, the new one being Fireworks from Black Ops 3, and 6 types of field upgrades, 1 new, 5 returning, with the new one being Toxic Growth from Cold War. Now, obviously, you're going to be starting at the very beginning of the unlock tracks for these because you won't have the access to do any sort of progress in Black Ops 6. Every one of these enhancements arrives with a set of augments to unlock and use. Some returning augments have received tuning changes and tweaks, so forget some of what you know and prepare to learn some of the new tricks. This is the main reason I actually wanted to dive into this, so we could specifically cover the ones that changed and talk about the new ones for each of the items within the game. For each returning enhancement, Juggernog, for example, expects 6 augments from Black Ops 6 plus 2 brand new augments, 1 major and 1 minor. Like I said before, Black Ops 6 augment research continues with all completed augment unlocks for every returning perk, ammo mod, and field upgrade accessible in Black Ops 7. Unlock all 8 augments on your research diagram, and then you can unlock the extra slot minor augment, which enables you to equip a second minor augment within the game. Therefore, once you have fully researched a specific perk, ammo mod, or field upgrade in Black Ops 7, you'll have a total of 8 augments with 3, 1 major, 2 minor being active in a specific match, which is insanely exciting. It's a huge buff to an already great system, in my opinion. And I think in some cases with the minor augments, there are the most commonly ones that you swap out. So being able to actually have 2 of them equipped at the exact same time, it's going to be quite a power boost if you ask me. Plus, some of these changes are going to maybe modify the ones that you were using in Black Ops 6, and you'll be using a different set of combinations in Black Ops 7. Like I said as well, you may have noticed 2 Black Ops 6 ammo mods, Light Mend and Shatter Blast, and 3 field upgrades, Tesla Storm, Frost Blast, and Mr. Peaks aren't listed as returning, but you can expect them all to appear, each with the 2 new augments and an additional minor augment slot to unlock to bolster your offensive capabilities during Season 1. So again, although this is coming down the line in Season 1, I don't really feel like this is drip fed as maybe some of you out there might, just because we're simply just getting it all at once. And usually Season 1 is like 2 or 3 weeks after the launch of the game, so that's not a lot of time to have to wait for just a few things that we've already kind of had in previous games. Plus, if you've been playing Black Ops 6 like we talked about, you're already going to have 6 of the 8 augments unlocked anyway, And there's already going to be plenty of stuff for you guys to grind out ahead of season 1, essentially. Now we're jumping into the general changes to augments. Round preservation. Anytime an augment enables an enemy to be charmed, brain rot perk is obvious example. Charm zombies now avoid slaying the last zombie in the round, allowing you or your teammates to inflict the final blow. Especially helpful if you are kiting an enemy while investigating a map more closely. Bigger game. All big game augments for ammo mods will receive a buff to damage or frequency that they trigger. Augment example is big game, brain rot, and napalm burst ammo mods will now charm or burn elite enemies more frequently. I think big game actually really needed a huge buff. There wasn't a lot of reason to run it as a main thing on your ammo mod, as an augment, I guess I should say, on your ammo mod, because it didn't have a lot of impact. Typically, if you ran it on anything, it was one that you were intending on having basically activate through elemental pop. So definitely a big change that they needed to do, and I'm excited for this one. Area of effectiveness. Damage types without a hit location like Deadwire Lightning Strike are no longer automatically considered critical hits or headshots. This also affects equipment or traps. This one I'm a little disappointed in, but I kind of get it. Deadwire has basically been the best, I would say, crowd control ammo mod through the entirety of Black Ops 6. And to avoid that becoming the exact same thing in Black Ops 7, they probably felt like nerfing it a little bit was probably the answer. So more than likely, I think it'll still be incredibly effective for crowd control, but I'll be interested to see how much damage it does to the plated enemies, if it still breaks the armor off the enemies, and how many activations it'll actually take to eliminate those within your presence. This also affects the equipment and traps, but I honestly don't know how much that's going to impact how those work. Again, it's one of those things we won't really know until we get hands-on with the game. One shot, one chance. Augments that operate on a per shot influence regarding ammunition or weapons that have multiple pellets or an area of effect damage now have a very small cooldown so as not to make them overwhelmingly effective for those weapon types. Augment examples include Dead Again, Deadshot Daiquiri perk, and Critical Eye Death Perception. So let's say, for example, you hit your enemy and it gives you ammo back. There's going to be a cooldown period in between that instead of directly giving it to you again. Essentially, just think of the Wonder Waff strat that you use on Shattered Veil for hive rounds. That would be something that wouldn't be quite as effective going into Black Ops 7. New enhancement, Health Overcharge. A new feature for Black Ops 7 zombies is Overheal, a modifying buff that allows players to temporarily increase their maximum health using certain augments or equipment. Here's how it works. Enhanced health. The most you can raise your health by combined augment effects like Juggernaut's Probiotic Augment and the Stim Shot equipment, for example, is plus 100 health above your current health maximum. Overheal. Employ specific tactics and you can increase your health still further. This bonus to your health is temporary, meaning unlike your regular health, it does not regenerate over time. The bonus is lost once your current health drops below the normal maximum, but it can be temporarily reacquired. Honestly, based on this description, this does sound like a really cool feature. Not really sure how it's going to impact my regular play experience, especially with challenges, but I definitely think it's going to be a lot of fun. And the good news is I'm not even going to wait till later to say this, they did announce that we will be able to play the survival version of the farm map in the Black Ops 7 beta. So definitely something to look forward to. Maybe that, gets more people to pre-order. I definitely don't think you're going to need to pre-order. Maybe there'll be access to a lot of beta codes, and then obviously there'll be a good chunk of the beta week that will be available to everyone. Now, at this point, we're actually going to jump into the individual perks, ammo mods, field upgrades, see what things changed, see what the new augments actually are. I'm only going to touch on the ones that actually received a modification. So if they were already in Black Ops 6 and nothing changed for them, I'm not going to go over it. I think it'll just make the video entirely too long. But I do want to cover the new perk, which is Wisp T. This perk specializes in adding a protective ethereal creature that remains near the player, appearing only after the player inflicts a large amount of damage to the enemy. Use of field upgrades, equipment, and other high damage items quickens the summoning. Once summoned, the Wisp begins to slay nearby zombies for about 30 seconds. 2 minutes later, it can be summoned again. The Wisp is summoned after defeating a number of zombies. The number is important rather than the speed of slaying, though obviously the Wisp will appear more quickly if the enemies are killed with haste. The Wisp targets all enemy types indiscriminately. The Wisp also realizes the importance of turning a round and will refrain from killing the last zombie remaining. Now, obviously, this is a brand new perk, and we have to go through each of them, but the major augments are Mask of Wrath. The demon does more damage, so they're referring to it as a demon, or at least one of them will be the demon. Mask of Salvation. The Fox can revive you while it's active. This can be done up to 3 times per match. Holy smokes, that's kind of crazy. So not only are we possibly going to still have Dying Wish, which I'm assuming is going to be the case, we're going to have self revives. We're also going to have a third option to get even more revives. I think this is going to be absolutely crazy with the different combinations that we're going to have across all of the items in the game. Mask of Distraction, the monkey attracts enemies and does damage in an area, maybe functions similar to a monkey bomb. And then Mask of Benevolence, the maiden does not attack but will periodically heal you. So some sort of passive healing effect, which could be really nice for specific challenges that I've done, in Black Ops 6 and plan on doing again in Black Ops 7. Minor Augments Extension, increase the Wisp's lifetime. That's going to be probably pretty helpful. Haste, decrease the cooldown before a Wisp can be summoned. That one will be fun to test. They already specifically said it's 2 minutes in between, so this only takes it down like 20 seconds. I guess it could still be helpful, but maybe not something you're going to be more inclined to choose. Zombie Sitter, the Wisp will attract and avoid damaging the last zombie in the round until the round times out. That part's a little confusing because I don't know if that's required for the other part they already mentioned, but it did say that it wouldn't go out of its way to kill the final zombie, so I'm not sure if that's going to be something worth running. And then Fetcher, the Wisp will pick up items and power-ups for you aside from the nuke. That's actually pretty awesome and more than likely the main one that I'm going to go to outside of Extension. I'll probably go Extension Fetcher, but again, it's one of those things we won't decide our actual augments till we unlock them all and get access and try them out. Okay, I guess we have one more thing to jump into before we actually get to these augments that I was saying, and it's going to be the Wonder Fizz changes. The base purchase price of Perca-Colas is based on previously purchased perks, and increases to the price now don't include ones that you may have obtained for free. So basically, let's say you go and buy Jug for 2,500, you get 2 free perks. Your fourth perk, even though it is your fourth perk, will still only be 3,000 because 2 of those were free, so they don't actually increase the price of that fourth perk. In Black Ops 6, Der Wonder Fizz machines became available at round 25. In Black Ops 7, the arrival of the Wonder Fizz machine is dependent on you and your teammates. It now also arrives after a certain number of perks have been bought, including repurchases by all players. So now we're getting into the augment changes and the additional augments that we can expect. Again, I'm only going to go over the ones that got adjusted and the ones that are new. First up, we have Jug. The adjustment is going to be to Turtle Shell. Armor completely absorbs damage to your back while also now allowing normal damage mitigation to your front. That is actually a very good change because this alone might make me more inclined to actually use it. I know there's a lot of people that love Turtle Shell, but to me, it didn't really do me a lot of favors when I was still receiving normal damage to the front and I didn't have access to my armor. The new augment for the major is going to be Iron Core. Your health is increased when all of your armor plates are broken. This one could also be really good, especially when you find yourself in those situations where you can't actually get access to armor or you're doing a challenge of some sort. Kind of excited to try this one out. For minor augments, hardened plates got an adjustment. The damage mitigation has been reduced slightly. A little bit unfortunate. That's actually my favorite minor augment to run on Jug. So hopefully it's still super effective and we can still utilize it. Good news is we can run 2 minor augments once we get all 8 of the track unlocked, so maybe that won't matter all that much. The new one is going to be Shake It Off. Incoming damage will occasionally be significantly reduced. Honestly, I might do Shake It Off with my hardened plate still. That might be a good way to, reduce the incoming damage, especially if you're not getting hit frequently enough. It doesn't say that matters or if there's time in between. Next up, PhD. We have, let's see, an adjustment to PhD slider. Effectiveness when side swiping has been reduced. This augment triggers when impact occurs during the direction of travel. So if I'm reading this correctly, basically they tried to nerf it a little bit. So if you're not directly hitting the zombie in the front, it's probably going to do less damage or it'll be just less effective in general. So there's a lot of cases where I'm sliding and the zombie from the side gets hit. It'll probably just not be so great against those guys. I'm honestly interested to see how much this impacts PhD because specifically, PhD Slider is one of my favorite augments and features to a perk currently within the game. The new major augment is Double Whammy. Release a second explosion shortly after the first one. That one actually sounds tempting as well. I guess it depends how much they nerf PhD Slider, and will it be enough to encourage me to try out Double Whammy. Minor augments, we did see a adjustment to Tribologist. Both the sliding speed increase and general speed bonus have been lessened slightly. So a bit of a nerf to Tribologist. Again, one of those ones that I find myself using pretty religiously. For our new one, we do have Stuntman. Wall jumping creates an explosion. I gotta wait and see how wall jumping fits into this iteration of zombies, because that could be a lot of fun, but I just don't know how often that's going to be beneficial. Elemental Pop doesn't look like we had any changes to any of the major augments, but our new one is Rainbow Pop. Weapons with an ammo mod equipped have a chance to deal the elemental damage that an enemy is weak to. I think that's a very unique addition and honestly could be very viable for a lot of situations. Honestly, you don't want to always run the one that's best for the enemy types that you're facing because maybe you're after a certain effect, aka me using Deadwire in Black Ops 6. Now I'll have the advantage of possibly getting an activation on that enemy that I am facing. It will still benefit me greatly, and it is a little bit more random and doesn't make me feel like I'm forced to use that when I'm on a specific map per se. We have one minor augment adjustment here, Vulnera Beam. This has been lessened by a modest amount. So the increased elemental weakness damage has been nerfed quite a bit. Honestly, it's probably going to be one of those things people just choose not to run. More than likely, they'll switch over to Chill Berry, or once again, we can actually run 2 minor augments, so it'll still be nice to have, it just won't be as effective. For our new minor augment, we have Refresh Mint. Killing a special or elite enemy with its elemental weakness resets your elemental pop cooldown. That one sounds pretty crazy, but it might not be, super effective in the earlier rounds where maybe you're not actually fighting a special all that often, or an elite. Elites can be most of the time every 5 rounds, or and maybe in the later rounds a little bit more frequently. But in the early game, that one probably isn't going to be super effective. Okay, none of the other ones before this had this, so I'm glad I noticed this, and I double-checked the other ones. They did indeed not have one, but the base version of Melee Macchiato looks like it got a change as well. The damage of each punch continues to increase until round 30. The punch itself is faster. Expect different damage multipliers depending on the melee weapons that you use. So this means we're doing some fist-only challenges in Black Ops 7, because that was a lot of fun in Black Ops 6, and it sounds like we're going to have an even better time in Black Ops 7. Who knows? Maybe I'll go round 50 with just punch only. I think that could be a ton of fun. Maybe there's a potential to actually do one of the Easter eggs with punch only. That could also be a ton of fun. But let's go ahead and look over our major augments here. It looks like no adjustments to any of them, but Mocha Maul is going to be the new one. The punch is replaced with your dedicated melee weapon. Now, I'm honestly not sure what to think about this, but when I'm thinking of minor augments, it actually could be pretty effective. The adjustment that we saw for minor augments is going to be regards to strength training. This is actually one that I think that could be effective with that Mocha Maul. Your punch can one-hit normal enemies for more rounds. This will be a very interesting thing to test with the addition to the base version getting a buff, because it says up to round 30, your melee damage will continue to increase via your punch. And in Black Ops 6, you could get to round 20, one-hitting the regular zombies. And then with this strength training thing, you could push it 5 more rounds to round 25. But the adjustment is the number of rounds you can one-hit normal enemies has been increased. So before, like I said, it was 5 rounds. Maybe this is 10 more rounds. So maybe you will actually have success going fist only, one-hitting zombies to 40 perhaps. I'm honestly really excited to get my hands on this one, even though Melee Macchiato doesn't tend to be something people enjoy a lot currently in Black Ops 6. And for our new minor augment for Melee Macchiato, we got Barista Brawl. You'll gain more essence from melee kills. Another good reason to do some more melee would be if you got more essence from it. I think they've given us another reason to do that. Also good, because you can obviously throw that on with another one of the minors. Okay, so for Vulture Raid, we didn't see any major changes or major augment changes, but the new one is Armormatic. Picking up an armor plate automatically applies it to your vest. For this one, just think how armor worked in Cold War. I think a lot of people will actually like this, but there is one thing that I'm picking up on, and it is whenever you pick up armor, it'll automatically apply to your vest. So if you do obviously lose armor, you will still have to manually plate with some of it in your reserve if you're not actually picking it up actively. So there might be a circumstance where people go, you know what, I'm finding myself manually plating all the time anyway. Maybe this isn't worth running, but it'll be somewhat fun to at least try it out and see if it's something that we'll actually want to run and just see how viable it actually is. Maybe it'll be applying automatically frequently enough that the issue I'm mentioning won't even exist. For minor augments, we got a Picky Eater change. On death, zombies have a higher chance of dropping your current equipment. The adjustment is that the chance to drop has been lessened slightly. It does say slightly. Honestly, for the most part, a lot of my runs, I find that more drop than I actually utilize. Maybe that's just a me thing, but hopefully it'll still be dropping frequently enough to be something that we will find valuable. The new minor augment is Extra Serving. Special and elite enemies you kill have a chance to drop a large essence vial. That could be really good, just depending on how big it actually is. I'm assuming it's going to be 500, but maybe it'll be less, and it's also possible it'll be more. Something like double points during an Extra Serving could be really insane for building up points. Double Tap, another one of those that didn't receive any major augment adjustments, but the new major is Double Dealer. Every 4th bullet in your weapon magazine deals double damage. That's going to be a tough one. Trying to decide between which double damage major augment you want is going to definitely take some testing. Who knows what's going to be possible? Is it going to be better to have one every fourth bullet? Is it going to be better to hit double hits on the same target in quick succession, deal more damage? The deal more damage doesn't necessarily mean double. So maybe that every fourth bullet ends up being a much bigger difference. And that's the one we end up going with. Either way, does sound exciting. Glad they added something that gives us even more damage. And we get it on launch. No waiting until season 3 for double tap. Absolutely insane. All right, for the minor augments, did we see any changes? We did not, but double down is our new one, and bullet weapons have increased penetration damage through enemies. I think that might be the one I end up going with because you'll be able to hit, I'm assuming, more zombies in a row, and they'll take significantly more damage. Quick Revive, our first perk that actually have multiple adjustments in the major category. For EMT, which is reviving an ally, allows them to keep all their perks on their bleed out circle. The adjustment now has players with this augment now keep up to 5 of their perks when revived. So this got a bit of a buff, which is interesting. Unfortunately, a lot of the quick revive ones only apply if you're playing in a squad, so they're not extremely useful to solo players. Equivalent Exchange also got an adjustment. This is if you have quick revive while down, killing an enemy will revive you. This can be done up to 3 times. Now, you always go into your last stand pose. Quick revive is no longer removed on use, and you keep all perks if you kill an enemy while downed. That's actually a really good benefit and maybe a reason to actually use this now, at least in my opinion, outside of Dying Wish. Dying Wish obviously didn't get any changes, but our new major augment is going to be Adrenaline Rush. Killing a special or elite enemy will start your health regeneration. That does sound interesting, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to trump using Dying Wish or even Equivalent Exchange. For the minor augments, there were no changes. However, the new one is Emergency Medical Kit. You can now craft a self-revive up to 4 times. I think being that there's so limited minor augments, to be fair, especially if you are playing solo, more than likely you're going to run this and have an extra self-revive available to you. Deadshot Daiquiri, major augment dead again, did get a change. Critical hits have a chance of adding a bullet to your magazine. The adjustment is a slight cooldown has been added, so it's probably going to be a little bit less effective, but obviously it's still going to have the same effect. Our new major augment, Dead to Rights, bullets deal bonus damage to enemies within point blank range. Honestly, if you're running Rampage Inducer or you get into the much higher rounds, a lot of the zombies end up in close quarters. This could be extremely viable for those higher rounds. It's one of those things that until we try it, we won't know for sure, but maybe it'll give us another major augment to choose because for the most part, I honestly don't see myself, switching out a lot of these augment options. For minor augments, did we see any changes? We did not, but Dead Heat is our new minor and temporarily increase your movement speed after getting a point blank kill. You could find yourself moving around quite fast and quite frequently, as long as that doesn't have a crazy cooldown or anything like that. Death Perception, probably people's least favorite perk, did get an adjustment to Critical Eye. That is the one that has a small chance a body shot becomes a crit shot. The adjustment is a slight cooldown has been added and does not work with explosive weapons or wonder weapons. Big sad. Luckily, it's not something that's going to affect Black Ops 6 because people using the Wonder Waff strat would be incredibly sad. And for our new major augment, we see enemies. It's called Sixth Sense. We see enemies close behind you and take less damage from behind. That honestly might be really nice, especially for the zombies that sneak up on you. During this current era of zombies, we have this despawn respawn mechanic, and sometimes the zombies catch you off guard. Maybe that'll help mitigate that a little bit. Definitely something I'm a little bit more interested in and has me more interested in possibly getting Death Perception regularly. Minor augments didn't receive any changes, but Hidden Gems is the new one. Death Perception can now see loot. I think there is some confusion. I believe at some point in the past, it did actually see loot through walls. So now with this minor augment addition, you should be able to see your salvage and drops that come off the zombies through the walls as well, just like you can the zombies. Stamina Up actually received 0 changes, but the new major augment is Guns Up, fire while sprinting. This could be really nice and a nice alternative to just running Dasher all the time. I think Dasher technically does change because without it, you don't enable tac sprint with increased duration. I believe you won't have tac sprint. I'm not 100% sure on the tac sprint thing, but it is possible that that could be a small change that does happen because Dasher would be the only way you could tactically sprint. For our minor augment, we got Footwork. It increases non-forward sprinting speed, so side-to-side sprinting or backward sprinting, basically just taking advantage of the Omni movement. You'll have a little bit faster movement. I don't think it will be faster than moving forward, even with this Footwork thing, but who knows? Maybe it's possible we'll see people speed running the game running backward. Speed Cola, another one that didn't receive any adjustments to major or minor, but our new major is Ammo Surge. Gain a burst of speed when initiating a reload. That could be pretty nice, and maybe it will outweigh me wanting to use classic formula to reload even faster. And our new minor augment is Prestigitation. Reloading has a chance to not use stock ammo. That actually sounds kind of cool as well. There's not a lot of secondary options to choose from, or minor options, I should say. I always call them secondary options. I normally run quick swap, but we're going to have the ability to run 2 minors, so maybe it's a quick swap Prestigitation angle. Now we get to dive into the ammo mods, and what fun it is to bring back fireworks from Black Ops 3. This ammo mod is brightly colored as it is deadly, filling the air above and illuminating the nearby combat zone in a fiery light show, leading to a series of firework explosions that detonate and rip the undead apart in a vivid display of wanton violence. As the initial explosive light show has occurred, damaging zombies caught in the vicinity, stars are launched into the skies before exploding. This subsequent explosion launches a set of individual flares from the stars that fly out and home in on additional random threats within the general vicinity. The chance of fireworks activating depends on the enemy type, and once the light show is over, expect a small cooldown window before it's available again. Now, I could possibly be wrong here, but something tells me that this is going to be the best ammo mod at launch in Black Ops 7 Zombies. We'll have to wait and see, but if that ends up being true, I would not be surprised. For our major augments, we have as follows. Big Game. Fireworks can activate on elite enemies, creating a bigger light show. Starburst. Fireworks explode immediately, sending flares through enemies in all directions. Weeping Willow. Instead of targeting enemies, the flares will land on the ground and explode for a while. Fire Wheel creates 2 fire wheels that spin around and damage enemies. That one sounds actually insane. Minor augment. Starlight. Firework launches more flares. Big Bang, firework flares deal more damage to special and elite enemies. High Yield, increase the area of effect. Short Fuse, fireworks cooldowns are reduced. Now, honestly, it sounds really fun to use High Yield with Short Fuse, so your cooldowns are reduced, your area of effect is increased, and you got fire wheels spinning like crazy. But again, it's one of those things, we're not going to have any idea which one is actually going to be the best till we get hands-on with it and get to try it out for ourselves. I could honestly see myself using Big Game a lot more in this one, but due to the high round changes with less specials, it's possible that that's not even going to be necessary. We'll just have to wait and see. It is cool to see them making adjustments, though, to stuff like Big Game, try to make some of these augments that were lesser used in Black Ops 6 that are returning maybe a bit more viable. Brain Rot. We got an adjustment to Big Game like we were already talking about. Brain Rot can charm elite enemies. The adjustment is this will charm enemies more frequently. Our new major augment is going to be Caustic Fumes. Charmed enemies deal toxic damage to nearby enemies. Honestly, that might be the go-to. Pheromone's been pretty cool, but Caustic Fumes, that might bring a whole new level to this Brain Rot ammo mod. Minor augments, there were no adjustments, but the new one is Super Serum. Increase the damage dealt by charmed enemies. I think this would be extremely viable against maybe something like a special or elite, but I think in a lot of cases, if not all cases, maybe I'm mistaken, the charmed enemy does one hit the normal zombies. Maybe not the armored zombies, but definitely the normal ones. Napalm Burst did get an adjustment to Big Game as well. The adjustment is that it will burn elite enemies more frequently. Our new major augment is Petroleum. Napalm Burst leaves a pool of fire on the ground. That could be incredibly fun. It almost kind of reminds me of the Wonder Weapon, the Gorg effects. It does do a pool of toxic on the ground, but a Napalm Burst pool instead. Minor augments, there was actually no changes, but Backdraft is the new one. Increase the activation radius. To be honest, I'm a little confused by what that means because typically I thought the activation was based on you hitting the target. So maybe that's like what will cause an enemy to explode and how far out an enemy outside of where you're shooting does do that. Maybe that's the case, but outside of that, it is a little bit confusing on how that's worded. Shadow Rift also had an adjustment to Big Game. This activation on elite enemy occurs more frequently. They did nerf it big time in Black Ops 6. Originally, it was one-hitting abominations and just the elites in general. Eventually, they toned it down, so it does take multiple activations to actually eliminate one of those. But if it happens more frequently, maybe it'll go back to being a viable option, and happening enough will allow you to eliminate those enemies pretty quickly. The other thing is our new major, which is Gravity Well. Shadow Rift becomes a black hole that pulls enemies in before teleporting away nearby enemy survivors. I'm guessing that anybody that does actually live gets teleported further away from you. So that could be a very viable option for the Shadow Rift ammo mod and maybe give us more reason to actually use it. I don't even know how many people still use Shadow Rift, but I would assume outside of setting it up with like Big Game or something used through Elemental Pop, not a lot of you guys are still running this. Minor augments, we didn't see any changes, but Ammo Theorem is the new one. Teleporting enemies away adds ammo to your weapon magazine from stock. It does not say how much ammo. It's not ammo per enemy. None of that is clear. But if it's enough, that could be something worth using. Deadwire. Now, they did already confirm that the lightning strike was slightly adjusted, so we got to keep that in mind. It doesn't say anything about it here, but our adjustment is also to big game for this. This stuns elites enemies sooner, so maybe more effective towards them. I don't see any reason why I'm running big game on something like Deadwire when I'm probably running it for crowd control, but you really never know. Slight nerf to strike, lightning strike, like we said, it's no longer going to do crits, so that might be very impactful and make us adjust what we choose to use. But our new major augment is Ball Lightning. Activating Deadwire launches an orb that deals electric damage to nearby enemies as it moves. That honestly could be really cool depending on how it moves. If it's similar to, I think how it is, what is it? Dark Flare has the dark orb that goes out. If it's similar to that, maybe it wouldn't be as exciting, but you truly never know. Minor augments, nothing did get an adjustment, but we do have Aftershock. Enemies that are stunned by Deadwire have a chance to spread to nearby enemies. Honestly, with the nerf to Lightning Strike, but this being available, it is very possible that still is an insanely viable option. Our last and final ammo mod is Cryo Freeze, and this one did get a couple of adjustments. I kind of expected it. Big game, of course. It will slow down elite enemies more frequently. Ice Cloud got an adjustment, which is enemies that are killed while frozen may leave a cloud that slows enemies. Now it will have a cooldown that has been employed to adjust and lessens the number of ice clouds appearing. So it won't be nearly as effective like it is on the strat on Reckoning, where you're standing in mutant research. Basically, you can stand in one spot with something like the Maelstrom and find really, really great success just running the Cryo Freeze ammo mod, especially with the Ice Cloud. Everybody freezes, everybody slows down. Honestly, it's a great strategy. I can see why they're nerfing it, but again, I still think they could have left it as is. It'd probably be fine. For our new one, we got Cold Company. Cryo Freeze has a chance to activate on more than one enemy at a time. That does sound pretty exciting, but with something like the Ice Cloud being nerfed, maybe this ends up being the go-to, right? Minor augments, there were 0 adjustments there, but the new one is Thermal Shock. Enemies are damaged once they are unfrozen, which could be kind of interesting, especially if you're getting like a multi-activation going on between your elemental pop and whatever you're running on the weapon. That could be pretty insane. Now we get to move on to field upgrades, and we have to start with the return of Toxic Growth from Cold War, supporting a more defensive playstyle and extremely useful if you're guarding a narrow entry point from an advanced horde. Toxic Growth allows you to deploy a thicket of viciously sharp thorns that have an additional benefit of being poisonous. Hold down and block the pathways and or incoming enemies with the latest mutant plant life. Adds a powerful improvement to your capabilities and inflicts toxic damage. This bush of vines grows rapidly on the ground with a specific width, height, and depth to learn the dimensions of it to aid in tactical placement. Enemies that move through Toxic Growth are slowed as they are poisoned and torn apart, and the Toxic Growth weakens them before finally disintegrating after enough time and inflicting a set amount of damage. Toxic Growths don't harm you or your teammates. No more than 3 can be placed at once or be active. If I'm being completely honest, in Cold War, I don't even know if I really use Toxic Growth at all, so I'm definitely excited to give it another shot here in Black Ops 7. And it does sound like they intend for you to use it in some sort of high round fashion, or that it might have a purpose in kind of blocking a path during some sort of high round attempt. For our major augments, we have Yurtikant. Toxic Growth takes up a wider area, and enemies that enter the growth continue to be slowed after leaving it. That one sounds like it's already going to be the go-to. Core Deception. The first normal or special enemy to walk into the growth is entangled and charmed, attacking other enemies that enter. Pollination. Enemies killed by the growth explode, dealing toxic damage to nearby enemies and slowing them. And Zukuri. The first normal or special enemy to walk into the growth becomes the toxic growth itself. Minor augments, Ankle Shredder, enemies moving through the growth are even slower. Green Thumb significantly increases the toxic growth health. Extra Charge increases max charges by 1, so you can place down multiple. Maybe, like it says, that you can only have 3, but maybe getting 3 down faster would be the way to go. And then Plant Food, killing enemies with toxic growth has a chance to drop healing fruit. That also might be really incredible for some sort of high round strat, especially if you're holding down or blocking a specific pathway. Dark Flare is back and did receive an adjustment to Dark Pact. The adjustment is the revive speed has been increased to ensure down players will revive more rapidly. That's when the beam heals and revive other players on contact, so maybe it'll find itself to be a little bit more viable. Honestly, Dark Flare is not something that most people probably even touched outside of doing Mastery or something throughout Black Ops 6. But the new major augment is Muzzle Blast. The beam now deals additional damage in a cone in front of you. hopefully that'll make it something that we want to use because, again, it's not something that is currently used very often in the current iteration that we play. Minor augments, there was no adjustments, but our new one is Dusk Flame. Enemies that are hit by the beam are dealt additional shadow damage over time. Healing Aura, major augments didn't receive any changes, but the new one is Necromancer. Healing Aura can now revive dead allies. I think there's a lot of people out there that will find this to be very helpful, especially in squad-based Easter egg completions. Something like this could be incredibly good for picking up somebody who, maybe goes down during a round. You guys don't want to have to actually flip it. You're doing an Easter egg step or something. They can go ahead and redeem themselves a bit, get a couple other perks, and not go right into the fire at the beginning of a round. Kind of a nice adjustment, especially those of you that are running Healing Aura. This might be the go-to. Minor augments, there was no changes once again, but Cornucopia, affected players get a health overcharge. So anytime you pop your Healing Aura, it'll have a chance to do that overcharge thing that they were talking about earlier, which I do think is going to be an interesting element to zombies. Frenzied Guard also didn't receive any modifications or changes, but new major augment, Fists of Frenzy. While frenzied, annihilate enemies with your fists. That could be a really cool combination with the melee buff that we saw or talked about earlier. And you could definitely count on me trying that out for one of our melee only challenges coming up in Black Ops 7. Minor augments, we got the new one, Dual Layer. While Frenzy Guard is active, armor durability is increased. Energy Mine, another one that didn't receive any adjustments. The new major is going to be Smart Mine. Energy Mine has more detonation and waits for your multiple enemies to be in range for each detonation. And our minor is Recycle. A deployed Energy Mine can be recycled for field upgrade charge. So say you throw one down and it's not going to do anything. It sounds like you have a way of redeeming it and getting some sort of charge back towards your next one. Ether Shroud back, and again, no changes for this as well, but the new major is After Image. Distract enemies with a dark ether clone of yourself. That could be pretty helpful. And our minor is Impulse. Deal shadow damage to enemies on activation and increase your movement speed during Ether Shroud. Probably going to be the go-to for speedrunners because you're going to want to move faster at any point that you can. It does sound like an additional way to do so. Now, that is all of the things that have changed with the augments across the board and all the new additions that we can expect as our new major and new minor added to each additional item that we got alongside, or not each additional, each item that we already have in the game. And then obviously the implementation of the 8 tracks that will be available for all of the new things that are joining us via Toxic Growth, the Fireworks, and I'm forgetting whatever the other thing is at this moment, the Wisp T perk. That's what it is. But hopefully you guys all enjoyed. Hopefully this will explain what you guys can expect as far as differences with augments. I think they're back and better than ever. They've only just improved a system that was already great to begin with. Now we'll have to wait and see what they do in the future, what things they choose to add in the seasons to come, because we're already sitting on 12 perks. We already have a lot of things available to us. And again, we will be seeing those things that aren't available on launch at the start of season 1, it sounds like, or during season 1. So we'll have the entire arsenal from Black Ops 6 and the couple of new things that are introduced to start Black Ops 7, basically once we get into season 1. That's going to wrap things up for us here. Thank you guys for all the support in today's video, all support in the channel. Look forward to seeing y'all in the next one. Peace!